everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Bob Stewart. We've got about one more minute before the top of the hour, and I'll actually dive in here. We had a lot of people register today, a lot. So people are pouring into the room right now. Let's jump in and talk about 5 scripts you need to blow up your real estate business. And I'm bad at math. As we go through here, there might be more than 5 in here today. So I want to talk for a second about why we use scripts. So when I say we, I'm talking about the Ben Kinney team. And my mom's an agent on the Ben Kinney team. I interact every single day with our agents on the Ben Kinney team. And a lot of my interactions are around their use of Brivity. But I promise you, I've interacted a ton around these scripts as well. And what our people are saying when they go out and they get in front of clients, and it's not always go out, right? Some of these might be at an open house, but some of these are on the phone. But what are we saying, right? And why do we use this method? And one of the first reasons is we want to make sure we say the right thing every time. And it's kind of combined with that idea of coming away with the information we seek every time. But both of those things lend to this idea of being consistent, right? And if we're not consistent in what we say, it's really hard for us to understand if what we're doing is effective, right? We can never get this baseline to say, look, I'm horrible at converting internet leads, but if I'm not saying the same thing each time, like that first time I talk to the person, how do I know if I'm good or not, right? Because I might convert one just based on something I said to that one, but if I'm not saying that every time, if I don't have some consistency so that I can identify, okay, when I say this, I said it 10 times to the last 10 open house visitors that came in. If I can say the same thing, then I can say, look, I said that same thing, and 4 of them, I got a positive answer out of 4 of them, right? As opposed to like, this time I said this, and the next time I said that, and this time I said that. We can't identify like what works and what doesn't unless we can be consistent and have a baseline. So that's why we use scripts. We want to say the right thing, and we want to say it enough times. Now, this is why most people fail, right? They don't practice them. And I forget who it was, but somebody said, I love scripts, but they sound rehearsed and canned if you don't practice them. So one of the very first things that Ben Kinney ever did when he started his real estate business is he decided to start practicing his scripts. And he didn't have a team. He didn't even have Jolene then. Okay, he had nobody. He was an individual agent his first year. And so he started at his office a scripts practice every morning at 8:30. And for the first like 3 or 4 days that he did it, he showed up in that room. He let everybody know, hey guys, I'm going to be practicing scripts at 8:30 in the training room. Feel free to join me. And nobody joined him. And so the second day he went back and nobody joined him. And finally on the third day, one person joined him. And so he practiced with them. Over a couple of weeks, they built a culture. It happened very fast inside of their market center in Bellingham, where everybody was coming in to practice their scripts. Now they continue to do this to this day, every single morning. And you know, if you're a Brivity client, by the way, and there's many people on here that aren't, but if you're a Brivity client, like, we kind of have this open invitation for you guys to come and join us. We've got a bunch of people tomorrow who will be in Bellingham with us, Brivity clients, doing a mastermind, but then they get to experience Ben's team, right? You get to go and visit the team. And one of the things you'll see, if you've ever done this with us before, but any day of the week, Monday through Friday, you could show up in Bellingham, and at 8:30, Ben's team is in their office practicing their scripts on each other. And most of the time, it's going to be a script that I'm just about to go start using. And often now by this point, guys like Anthony and Ryan, right? Some of these guys that have been on the team for a long time, they're practicing their scripts for the 1,000th time, right? We believe that it's important to practice our scripts because Ben does not want in our business us practicing on real people, on our real clients, on our real leads. And what a lot of us do is we say, okay, right, somebody's going to leave this today and they're going to go, I want to try the 1 of 2 things script, right? But they're going to maybe run it through in their head a few times. And the very first time they're going to say it out loud is going to be the next time they get an internet lead. That's the wrong way to do it, right? You've got to find somebody to practice with. Like punish your significant other or punish your children by making them listen to your scripts, right? Find somebody in your office. Like these days with Zoom and all of these communication tools that we have, it doesn't have to be somebody in your office, right? You could have a standing 8 a.m. practice my scripts with 5 other people in every corner of the country if you wanted. And then once we've got the script practiced, we don't deliver it every single time when that opportunity presents itself. We're just inconsistently use them, right? So we've got these scripts, right? We're going to walk away with this script that we can use at the end of every single open house. But if you don't use it every time, then how do you know if it works or not, right? Because let's say you used it 5 times out of 10 and you got no good responses out of it, right? But had you used it the other 5 times out of 10, that's where the 3 or 4 people would have said yes. And you don't know, right? You think, this script's garbage. So you have to use it consistently. And then the other way this doesn't work is we don't have enough leads, prospect, or people to actually use these scripts on. So we have this philosophy inside of our company that we can be successful if we say the right thing. That's practicing our script. We say it enough times, right? Because I might say that same thing to lots of people. I might even say the same thing to the same people more than once. And then I have enough people to say it to. I say the right thing, I say it enough times, and I have enough people to say it to. That's a formula for success that we believe in very strongly in our organization. So, assuming we can get past all of that, right? Let's talk about some of these scripts. And we always, as we do these webinars that are kind of presented by Brivity, a lot of times we're talking about elements of the Brivity platform. And this is kind of our map of what Brivity covers, right? What our Brivity platform offers to our customers and our clients, people that use this system to manage their real estate business. Often our webinars touch on some element of this, right? Something you can do with Brivity. The reality is today, you don't have to be a Brivity client, right? All the stuff we're going to talk about today, you can leave here immediately without Brivity's tools. I don't care what you use, Boomtown, commission thing, doesn't matter. Brivity, right? You can use these scripts anywhere. So really what we're talking about today, we're focused on this little piece right here, the content and the messaging, right? What are we going to say to somebody when we call them after they've signed up on our website? What are we going to say to somebody when they walk into our open house? What are we going to say to our client to prime them to give us more referrals in the future? All right, let's jump in, right? First script. And I apologize. Normally I try to put some pretty images in our slides. And no, we're going scripts today, guys. It's just written scripts. So we use this script in a variety of places and ways. The very first time we started using this script, and you'll see this with a lot of our scripts, by the way, where it's not just like there's this one specific scenario where if I'm in that one specific scenario, I can use this script. A script like this can be used in a lot of scenarios. So we initially started using this at our open houses. And so it would sound something like this, right? Somebody would come into our open house. Let's say it's my mom doing an open house. And she'd say, hey, I'm Gail Smith with Keller Williams. Thanks for dropping by today. Listen, we find that people normally come to our open houses, and that's the fill in the blank, right? Because it could be that we find that people come to our website. We find that people text in off of one of our signs, right? But we find that people come to our open houses for one of 2 reasons. They're a buyer who's trying to find that perfect house for themselves, or they live in the area and they're wondering what their own home might be worth. Which one are you? Now we do this because if you were to ask 10 people that come in your open house, right? Hey, what brings you in today? They're going to say the same stuff I say when somebody asks me that when I come into a department store, right? Which is, we're just looking, or, we were just in the neighborhood, we were out for a drive, whatever, right? But when we just give them 2 options, are you a buyer? Are you a seller? Like, identify yourself. What happens is they identify themselves almost every single time. So you now know, who am I talking to? Am I talking to a neighbor that has no interest in buying this house? They're just curious what their own house is worth, and so they wanted to get a peek inside the neighbor's house to see what kind of upgrades those people have done, right? Or are they a buyer? And a lot of times, right, maybe they're not the actual buyer. We hear stuff like, oh, well, I'm not the buyer. It's actually my daughter. She's at work today and couldn't get it away to come, right? But so she sent me to come check the house out. Right? But we immediately are getting people to identify themselves. Are you a buyer or are you a seller? Okay. Sometimes they'll say stuff like, well, we live in the neighborhood and we are going to be selling. We're actually going to be buying too. Now, not in the same neighborhood, right? So you can find these people, or you'll get a buyer that comes in and says, well, okay, so we are looking for a house, right? But we live in something today. And we'll get to LPMAMA in a second, which is another kind of way that we take these. So we can start the conversation this way, get them to identify themselves, buyer or seller, right? And then we can move the conversation along. And we'll talk about the LPMAMA script here in a little bit. But guys, we use this when we make that first call from Quickly. If somebody's texting in on one of our properties, right? That first call or even that message from Quickly could be, hey, we find that people text in on our listings for one of two reasons. Either they're a buyer, they drove by that property and they thought it might be a good fit for them, or they live in the neighborhood and they were wanting to know what their neighbor's house is selling for or listed for so they can figure out what their own house might be worth. Which one are you? I'll tell you, my mom, because we use this script when we call our quick leads. We even have this as an element of our auto plans that go out. When we start to text people, there's a question in there that says, hey, are you guys thinking about buying, or do you maybe live in the area and wondering what your own house is worth? Right? We're always trying to identify those things, because then we can get into LPMAMA and we can start to unpeel who they are based on why they initially made that query. My mom knows with 1 in 9 people that text in on her sign writers are somebody that lives in the area, that's not thinking about buying that house. They just wanted to know what it was worth so they could try to kind of come to an understanding what their own home is worth. We use this on website leads. Hey, we find that people come to our website for one of two reasons. They're a buyer and they're trying to find a house that's perfect for them, or they're thinking about selling and they're wondering what their own home might be worth. Which one are you? All right, let's move on. Number 2. Okay, so this is Via Williams. Via actually did a webinar about open houses with us, I don't know, month and a half ago. So if you were in that webinar, you heard her give this script, which is maybe one of the simplest, silliest scripts you'll ever hear. And she, they started doing this on her team a number of years ago, but the reason they started is because she had a brand new agent that she'd brought onto her team. And this lady was going to do her first open house before Via had ever really gotten a chance to train her on how Via does an open house. So it was literally like Friday night before she's about to do her Saturday open house, and she's grabbing Via. Can you please, what do I do? I'm a brand new agent, my first open house, what do I do? And she basically said, look, go through the open house with them. And Via tells this story. You guys can go back and find our webinar with Via. Inside of Brivity, you hit the little help button and do like open house webinar, and you can find this webinar we did. But she basically talks about, you're taking them through the open house, and they're always asking questions in their open houses like, hey, can you guys see yourself having breakfast in this kitchen? Like, what a beautiful kitchen, huh? Wow, can you see yourself taking a shower? Anyway, so they're continually, can you see yourself? Can you see yourself, right? By the end of that tour through with the client, what she told her brand new agent to do is, listen, at the very end, when they're getting ready to leave the open house, what I want you to do is I want you to ask them this simple question. Would you like to come back and meet with me after the open house to write an offer on this listing? Now, they do this at every open house now. Our Ben Kinney teams have started adopting this at open houses. Look, you guys have done plenty of open houses, I'm sure many of you in your careers, okay? 9 times out of 10, it's probably 95 times out of 100, it's a lot. They say no. And a lot of them will laugh, right? They'll giggle. No, we're not going to come back in an hour and write an offer on this house, right? That's fine. You know what's funny? Sometimes they say yes. Sometimes they say, yeah, we would actually like to come back, right? Or sometimes they open themselves up that next step presents you the opportunity to set an appointment with them for right after your open house. So no, okay, great. Look, most people don't, right? Would you guys like to come back after the open house and sit down with me and discuss exactly what you guys are looking for, and then talk about how we help our clients find that perfect home in the least amount of time for the least amount of money? Right? Now, this can sound different for each one of you guys, right? The idea is I think a lot of people get stuck on this idea of a script being this it's these 20 words. And I got to say them exactly like this. No, that's not it, right? My mom doesn't deliver this script the same way Via does, the same way Via's agent does, the same way you would or I would. But the idea is the script is there for what? This one's there to see, like, do they want to write an offer? Because you guys will be shocked, I promise you. Via's team was shocked. They all started doing this. You occasionally get somebody that says, yeah. And you know what would have happened had you not asked them that? Had you just been like, okay, well, hey, we'll follow up with you on Monday. And, hey, maybe we'll send you listening orders. Like Brivity does some cool things to get that open house lead into your CRM automatically, right? Get listings going out to them. But they could very easily just leave there, go call their cousin up who's a real estate agent, right? We don't want to lose that opportunity, right? Somebody came in without their agent. We're going to ask them on the way out the door, would you like to write an offer with me? Would you like to meet me after this open house finishes at 2 o'clock and sit down and write an offer on this home? Seems silly and stupid. Like, why wouldn't we ask that about everybody, right? We should. All right. So this comes from a friend of mine has been doing this for years. His name's Ryan Alley. He's a real estate agent with Keller Williams in Federal Way, Washington. And I talked to Ryan, this was years ago. I was asking him, like, when you take somebody out, you're going to go see 5 houses, right? Or 10 houses. You're going out and take a buyer out. Like, how do you position them in the beginning, Ryan? Like going in, what are you saying to that person before you guys are leaving on this tour? And one of the things that really stuck out to me that he does is he tells them up front, look, we're going to go see 7 houses today, okay? And I just want you guys to be aware that my goal for you guys, I think we found that on the market right now, these are like the 7 houses that meet your criteria. This is the best houses for you guys. I'm really hoping that out of this tour today, we're going to find a property in here that you guys want to make an offer on, maybe even more than one. So I want you guys to not be caught off guard, and I want you to be aware that what I do on every house we go to, when we're done, I'm going to ask you, could you see yourself writing an offer on this house? Okay, out of each home, I want to understand yes or no. Okay, and what happens when you actually get out there? I mean, you guys know this, right? They'll say, like on the first house, they'll say, well, yeah, maybe, but we want to see the other houses, right? But he's still trying to, because what happens sometimes on the 3rd or 4th house, right? They go, yeah, we can see ourselves writing an offer. In fact, like we want to write an offer on this house. And then it becomes, okay, do we need to look at the next 3? And often, yeah, we need to look at the next 3. But he wants going into the tour. The whole point of this is going into the tour. We want to try to identify that, like, look, if we've got the houses. These are the best 7 we're going to see for you guys. Do you want to write an offer on this house? How many of you guys do that today? Like, how many of you guys at each house you go to, and it might feel kind of silly, right? Because you still got 5 more to go. But he sets them up in the front. He says, look, expect this from me, right? Then he does it at each house so that by the end, we know, look, these are 2 houses. You guys said none of those 5, but you said you could see yourself writing an offer on these 2. So let's sit down and figure out between these 2, which one we're going to write an offer on. Yeah, and I think like Jason makes a really good point, right? He's like, that's smart. He says, but for sure, I need to be more consistent with that. I bet you guys do. Like when you do it, right, is when they're like, oh, wow. When they start really getting like interested and they're opening doors and they're talking to each other about how the kids can play out on the patio in the back. Like when they just go overboard, then you go, what do you think? Do we want to write an offer? Right, some of you don't even do that, by the way. Right? You wait for them to go, can we write an offer on this house? Like, stop doing that, right? This is where our business happens, right? When they make that offer. So why not just ask them if they want to? Again, this is like, I don't want to say it's silly and simple because it's not, right? It's simple when we say it, right? But it's not easy to do it every single time, to just internalize the script so you just know that's going to come out of your mouth at the end of each tour, right? Any of these are like that, any of these different scripts we're talking about. All right, let's talk for a second about this LPMAMA, this framework. So our teams, like any agent on any Ben Kinney team in the country, you could say to them, what does LPMAMA mean? And they'd rattle off location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, and appointment or transition, right? They know what LPMAMA means. Inside of each one of these things, There are a variety of ways we can ask the question. You guys could go Google LPMAMA. There's videos out there. There's written scripts that show you, for example, location. Where do they want to live? This is a really obvious question, and we ask so when we that first internet lead, we say, listen, people come to our website for one of two reasons. Either they're a buyer trying to find a perfect property, or there's somebody they're thinking about selling, wondering what their own house is worth. Which one are you? And they say, well, yeah, we're on the site looking for a house to buy, right? We're a buyer. We say, that's fantastic. Listen, we saw, and we can see this on Brivity, right? You get a lead from Zillow, you can see what they were looking at, right? So, hey, listen, we saw that you were looking in Bellingham. You guys looked at 3 properties in Bellingham, but tell me, have you guys considered, are you just wanting to be in Bellingham, or maybe would you guys consider being out in Ferndale or Linden or even Blaine, right? We're going to identify where do they want to live. This is obvious, and you guys are doing this, I think, on probably every person that you talk to, right? But are you taking them systematically through this so you understand kind of by the time you're asking for that appointment, I know what I'm dealing with, right? So price. I saw that you guys were on the website looking at properties between about 400 and 450,000. What price range are you guys hoping to buy a home in? Price can also lead into, and often does, kind of what are you looking for in that house, right? There's a number of places in here. Motivation can lead into what are you looking for, right? Because when we ask the motivation question, listen, that's awesome. You guys are looking for a property in Bellingham between, we're trying not to spend more than $450,000. Fantastic. Can I ask you, why are you guys looking to buy in Bellingham? What's changed from your scenario where you live today that has you wanting to buy in Bellingham, right? What's your motivation? That can often lead to, well, we're getting ready to have another kid, so we need more space, which we need 3. Okay, so you're having a child, that's part of your motivation, awesome. So 4 bedrooms sounds like it's going to be important to you guys, right? And there's a whole series of ways we can ask these questions to get at that thing. Agent, do you already have one? And listen, by the way, lots of people will tell you they have an agent when they don't really have an agent. So our agents are very diligent in this about pressing when they say they have an agent. Okay, not pressing like against the rules, right? But asking questions like, "Oh, you have an agent? That's awesome. Have you signed a buyer agency agreement with that person?" No. What's that? No, we haven't signed anything. Okay, great. Right now, I can kind of start to understand where my boundaries are with this lead that's walked into my open house, right? Mortgage, how will they be financing this thing? And then we're always looking for, okay, that's fantastic. So it sounds like you guys are looking for a property in Bellingham, but you'd consider Ferndale, up to about 450,000. We're hoping to be in a new property by the end of the summer because you want to have the kids in the new school district, right? You guys have an agent, but all they've been doing is every once a month they call you and check in, but they haven't really been helping you guys, or you haven't sat down with them, okay? And you're going to be financing the property. When can we sit down and talk about everything the Ben Kinney team does to help you find that perfect house? We don't just treat you like once a month phone calls. We're going to sit down and figure out a plan to get you guys into a home by the end of summer. That framework, again, there's a million ways you can have this discussion, but we are always moving towards taking somebody through this framework, right? By the end of this, we understand where they're looking, how much they can afford, if they're pre-qualified for a mortgage, if they have an agent or not, right? And why. That motivation is, you guys know, you've worked with enough people, that's a big deal, right? If there's things out of their control that are dictating that motivation, like they're being relocated for a job, or they want to, they have to get out of the house they're in now, their lease is up, things like that, right? Those are high motivation levels, and we know we've got somebody really, really ready to go. All right, so LPMAMA, not a script as much as it's like just a framework that we use, and you guys can go out and find the actual questions. And then any one of those location, there's 10 different ways you can ask about location, right? All right, so we use this. We really use this on our leads, okay, that have been just non-responsive. And we get a lot of those. We get a lot of leads first off in our life. So we have a lot of chances to use these scripts and get out and have enough people to say these things to. But what you'll find when you do a high volume of leads, and this could be open house leads, it could be people that signed up on your website or they came from Zillow or wherever, right? We have plans that we apply to these people. We call it the 10 days of pain, and Brivity clients have access to these. But our 10 days of pain, it's very aggressive for 10 days. Lots of texts, lots of phone calls we're making to them, and emails that go out. And at the end of that, they've had 10 days of this kind of relentless us trying to track them down and get them to converse with us. We send an email, a text, and our last phone message will leave something like this. I love texting, you hate responding. I love texting, you hate texting me back. I love emailing you, you hate replying to my emails. I love calling you, you hate calling me back, right? We do those. And then we say something a little bit more, which is basically to let them know, listen, we're just going to keep following up until we hear that your situation has changed or you tell us to stop. Right? We want them to know this is not going to stop. It was really aggressive for 10 days. It will get less aggressive, but it's not going to stop. We're going to keep following up with you. And we move that to once a month at that point. We start following up once a month. Guys, this, especially the text version of this, this is somebody that's ignored, let's say 5 emails, 6 or 7 texts already, and if our agents are on the ball, 3 or 4 phone calls. They've ignored about 15 communication attempts for us. I'm shocked at how many people respond when you text, I love texting you, you hate responding. They laugh, haha, yeah, I've totally been ignoring you, right? They admit they've been ignoring you. They say stuff like, hey, yeah, haha, I've totally been ignoring you. I'm sorry. We're just not ready right now, right? We're still trying to get our credit in order, whatever, right? But they'll kind of come out from behind that wall, right? That they've kind of put up and said, I'm not responding to this person. Maybe they think to themselves, this has all felt pretty automated, right? These feel like they're just texting me these automatic things. This one doesn't feel automated. It feels kind of funny, kind of like a real person would actually say it, right? Like that's something I might say to my buddy if I'd texted him a couple times over a few days and he hadn't responded. I'd be like, Ty, what are you doing, dude? I love texting you. You hate responding to me. And he'd respond, right? Haha, yeah, sorry, dude. I've been busy the last couple days. So this is a good one just to get people to kind of say, yep, I'm real. I'm here. We get plenty of people, by the way, that still don't respond to that. And then they get another call and another text a month from now. And the same thing a month later. That one's been good for us in just getting people into a conversation. So we've got a lot of scripts we use to call our sphere. And we do something on the Ben Kinney team. We try, and by the way, this is an ideal in our world. I don't think many of our agents actually are able to accomplish this 12 times every year. But we try to call our sphere and our past clients once a month. And one of the things that's always a challenge for the agents on our team, or had been a challenge until we kind of adopted this new way that we do, that we're trying to do things now, it always been a challenge. What do I say? I called in January, I used the planning my year script, which isn't in our deck today. It sounds something like this. Hey, this is Bob. Listen, I'm calling you guys because Aaron and I are planning our vacation this year. You guys know that we love to go to Disneyland. You guys have probably seen our pictures on Facebook or whatever. We don't know when we're going to do it, and we want to make sure we don't do it during a time when one of our best clients, one of our best friends might need our help in real estate. And so I'm just calling you guys here in January, as I'm planning our year, and see, do you guys have any real estate related plans for the year? No, you guys aren't thinking about not thinking about selling. I know you guys love your house out there. What about investing? Have you guys considered making any real estate investments this year? No? Okay, awesome. You guys don't have any friends that you might refer to me, right? I appreciate you guys referred me Johnny last year. Like he was a great client to work with. You guys don't have anybody else this year thinking about referring me, do you? Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and get our Disneyland trip planned then. We'll talk to you next month, okay? That planning your year script, all of our agents, every single agent across our organizations uses that in January to call our sphere. Why? Because they don't have to figure out then what to call and say to their sphere in January. They know it's planned for them. We practice it in scripts and dialogues coming into the month of January, and then that's what we start to say when we're calling our 15 to 20 people a day in our sphere to touch base with them about our real estate business or just connect with them. We do something different in February. We do something different in March. But each month, we come together as a team and we say, what are we going to say when we call our sphere? This is just one of the examples from the last 12 months that we've used. Okay? Hey, Bill, this is Bob Stewart over at Keller Williams. And sometimes you don't even have to say that with your sphere, right? Hey, if I called Ty, I'd say, hey, Ty, this is Bobby, man. How you doing? Listen, I'm watching so many of our investor clients and really a lot of savvy people here in the Seattle area are buying real estate. And I keep thinking, I need to help my friends and family get in on this. So have you guys considered investing in real estate at all? Like, has it ever been something that you've wanted to do? And for a lot of your clients, right, you might know they already own one rental property and you're calling them to say, guys, you've got the one rental out there, the duplex, but we've been seeing a lot of our investor clients and a lot of really savvy financial people in Bellingham here, like properties are getting snapped up for investment purposes. Have you guys considered adding another property to your portfolio this year? These scripts, right? You would not use this script on every single person in your database, like on all your sphere. You wouldn't call your buddy who's renting, right? And obviously, like, duh, right? But any one of you on this call today has some number of people in your database today that you already know invest in real estate, right? You've got people in your database today that you know financially are positioned, or I mean, you don't know, you believe, right? I don't think any of us really know kind of under the hood what everybody else's financial situation is, but you have people that you think this might be something you could approach with them, right? For all your friends and family and sphere and that are renting, this might sound something different, right? And you think about these scripts in terms of how can I replace some element of this and tweak it just a little bit and then use this same thing on people that look like that audience, right? For example, hey, Jim, I'm calling you guys today because, we just helped our 23rd first-time home buyer this year find a house here in Whatcom County. And I just, this whole year, it's just been just this thing in the back of my head where I keep thinking to myself, we've helped our 23rd first-time home buyer now, but I have friends and family that are still renting. And our goal on the Ben Kinney team is, to help families find a home. And we believe in it because we believe that that's the first stepping stone to building wealth is owning real estate. When can we get together and talk about when you guys are going to want to buy that first home for yourself? Right? But it's the same idea. Look, we've been helping our clients, right? We see that in here, right? I was thinking of you. You meet the profile of the clients I've been helping. Have you guys considered, would you guys like to get together for lunch and talk about what it's going to take to get you guys into a home? Would you like to have lunch with me sometime this week and talk about investing in your first rental property? Again, for our agents, a lot of times, they know the script going in, right? You're making tweaks to these scripts based on who you're calling. Okay. And this script, if this was our script in July, we'd probably have to have something else that we could use as a fallback call to people that don't fit this profile, right? And that might be that other tweak to the script for people that are renting currently. None of these scripts cover every single person, right? I think that goes without saying. This is one that I love we have our agents definitely on some of our teams are making calls to expired, cancels and expireds, okay? We also have an ISA department, and our ISA guys, and by the way, when we do these Brivity Mastermind events where people come to Bellingham, and I mentioned we're gonna have one here real soon where a big group of Brivity clients are joining us. Anthony and Ryan, who have both kind of been ISAs, but they're our lead listing agents. They do lots of canceled expired calls. They come and we do in the morning, we do a scripts and power up kind of time in the morning where we actually, they lead us in how they do their scripts so that you guys have that practice to be able to take back and kind of deploy that for your own teams. This is one that they use. And, generally this is going to be an expired or a canceled, right, that had been on the market for a long period of time. And when we've called them they basically said, don't call me, we're not going to sell anymore, right? And so Ryan and Anthony, they're really good at this, by the way, but they just roll into, listen, normally when somebody's had their home on the market for, and we know how many days it was on the market, right? We can see in the MLS. So we say, normally when someone had their home on the market for 6 months like you guys did and it didn't sell, it doesn't mean they don't want to sell. It sometimes means the sellers don't think they can get the amount of money they want in a reasonable amount of time. Now, if I could get you the amount of money you want and we could sell your home in a reasonable amount of time, would you reconsider? And this is another framework type of a script, because you get lots of objections. And what Anthony and Ryan and our other ISAs and lots of our agents have learned is they're not trying on the phone to overcome every single objection that person has or to give an answer to every objection. They essentially are like a matador in that they're trying to acknowledge that objection, but angle for the appointment to get down and sit down with you and discuss that objection, right? So this is basically saying, look, normally the reason people don't want to sell after is because they don't think they can get enough money because their house out on the market for so long. What if we could get you the right amount of money, right? So what if we could solve your objection, right? Would you reconsider, or would you consider sitting down with us and talking about that? We don't think, so, right, I've got a buyer lead on the phone and their objection is, well, we don't think we can afford the house that we want right now. Okay, so what I'm hearing you saying is, you guys, after looking for a little while, you guys, it feels like you want a house that's a little bit out of your budget. What if we could find you a house in your budget that checked all the boxes? Would you guys be interested in moving forward and starting to look at stuff if that was the case? Well, can you do that? I don't know. I don't know what all your boxes are, but if you'd like to come and have coffee with me for 30 minutes, we can sit down and talk about it and find an answer. So we do, Ben does his listing presentation. We did it, I think the last time we did it was at Keller Williams Family Reunion. We did the presentation up on stage where Ben gives his listing presentation. And by the way, if you're a Brivity client, you get access to that actual listing presentation. Go ask support for it if you've never gotten your hands on that thing before. It's editable. You can go in and completely edit it. If you're not a Brivity client, you joined us today, thanks. Appreciate that. You'll get a chance at the very end here to go get that listing presentation and have it for yourself as well. But during the listing presentation, Ben talks about this idea that sometimes you go into a listing presentation and they already plan to hire you, right? They got referred to you from their cousin, and their cousin said, you got to hire Ben Kinney Team. They're amazing. And when you walked in the door, in their head, they were going to sign that papers no matter what you said. The problem with that is if that's the case, right, they were going to sign that paper no matter what was said, and which actually isn't true, right? From that point, the only thing you could do is say stuff to mess it up, right? Say stuff to create doubt in their head. And so when they get like a referral, or they're walking in a past client they're going to sit down with for a listing appointment, they don't do this very often on a cold listing appointment that was set on and expired from an ISA, right? It wouldn't be the scenario for this. But is there anything other than price that you guys would like to discuss today before we get started on the listing paperwork? No? Okay, great. Let's get started. They will actually have them filling out paperwork before the price discussion even starts if they give their script. Now, sometimes people might say, well, we did want to talk about, where you guys are going to advertise it on the internet, and how long you think it's going to take to sell it, and what suggestions you're going to make for us to stage it. The last guy had to stage it, but we thought they did a bad job. If they start giving you a couple things and you say, okay, look, let's sit down. Let's go through everything, right? But if they don't need any of that stuff in their head, they already knew they were going to list with you. Like, Why would you talk yourself out of the job at that point? At some point in his career, Ben had a number of these happening, right? In that sweet spot in his career where he'd built up a big referral base. He had a lot of past clients, but he'd yet to step kind of fully out of production. By the way, Ben Kinney still does production. Every once in a while, I go up and I'm in his office and he grabs me and he's like, hey, we're going to go show somebody a house. You're coming with me. And I'm like, what? You still show houses? High five. Let's do it. But he's not fully in production these days anymore to the degree he was before. But when he was, and he had those past clients, those referrals, people saying, you got to list with Ben Kinney, he would show up and he started realizing the only thing I can do at this point for this person is talk them out of using me. There are some staggering statistics that NAR puts out every year in terms of how many agents or how many consumers only interview one agent before they sign. A lot of the people you may go on a listing appointment, they were gonna hire you before you walked in the door. So why not give them that opportunity to do it without all of the spiel? All right, if you were on our last webinar, you heard me talk about this. I'm gonna keep talking about this till every one of you guys are using it. It's probably the best thing I've heard this year, although I think I heard this from Mike last year. This is the promise. There is a video that I can share with you guys, and I'll pull it up before we're done here. There's a video where we did an interview, Ben Kinney and I did an interview with Mike Hicks. And in that interview, Mike does the promise, okay? Mike's been doing the promise in his business for 25 years. I've heard Mike deliver the promise like in person, I think 4 times, which means me trying to recreate for you exactly how Mike delivers the promise is a foolhardy exercise, okay? It's just ridiculous. I'm gonna give you the video so you can go watch Mike. Now, I'm gonna explain to you what the promise is and explain a couple of the kind of elements of this script that are so powerful. And I'm over here, I got one eye looking to try to find the link to Mike's interview, and I'm gonna track that down here in just 1 second. So, the promise, what is it? Well, what the promise is it's basically a conversation that you have, and the standard on their team is they have to have had the promise conversation by the second significant meeting they've had with that person. So seller, right? Like a lot of times it's at the listing appointment, right? But with a buyer, it might be, might be that first time I've had them out looking at houses, or maybe the second time. But by the second significant face-to-face meeting I've had with that person, I have to have delivered the promise script. So what the promise script is Mike basically sits down with the client. And again, I'm gonna give you the video. In fact, here, let me give it to you right now. I'm gonna send this video out to everybody. That's the link to the video. So, but the promise is basically this. He sits down, he says, listen, as we help you find your next house, right? As we help you sell this listing, we're gonna make a promise to you. And that promise is we are going to do everything in our power to make sure this is an amazing, unforgettable experience for you. And if at any time during our transaction, you don't feel like you are getting an amazing and an unforgettable experience, it's not everything that you expected it would be, we want you to let us know immediately so that we can fix that. Does that sound good? Yeah, that sounds great, Mike. Okay, now, in exchange for that, in exchange for us promising to do everything we can for you, we're gonna ask that you make us a promise. And what we'd like you to promise us is that during the time that our transaction is happening, while we're trying to find you a house, while your home is on the market and we go through the process of closing and all that stuff, during that time, we want you to promise us that you will deliver to me the name and contact information of one person that you know that's thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate that we could help. Can you do that for us? And they'll say, oh yeah, you bet. And you say, no, but I want to make sure we're clear. I don't want you to just give them our name, okay? I want you to give me their name. Okay, so I want you guys to, but that's essentially the script. Let's talk about why this is just, first off, Mike does, I think you can, if you watch the whole interview, somewhere in Idaho Falls, they do about 20% of the business in Idaho Falls. So 1 in every 5 houses that sells in Idaho Falls, and this isn't Chicago, right? It's Idaho Falls, not this, but it's a decent sized market. 1 in every 5 homes, the Anderson Hicks group sells that house. They have a really big share of the market in there. And all of Mike's business today, Mike personally, 100% of his business comes from referrals because of this. Okay, their team is heavy on referrals. But the cool thing about their team, like the referrals they're getting to their team, is it's not like past clients doing more business with them. It's every single past client bringing at least one more person to the table that's going to become a client, who's then going to bring one more person to the table that's going to become a client. And they bring them to the table. He says in the interview, I think it's like 78, 80%, something like that, of it's 0.7 something of people give a referral by the time their transactions close. Not, hey, you should use Mike. It's a, hey, Mike, call Jack, who I work with. Now, how many of you guys on this call know what the reticular activator is? I bet a bunch of you, right? You guys have heard that. Some of you have heard that phrase before, the reticular activator. What the reticular activator says is, if I decided right now that I'm going to buy a black Nissan Pathfinder, okay? I go on the internet, I start looking for black Nissan Pathfinders. And these days, once I do that, then my Facebook has ads for black Nissan Pathfinders. All the apps I use have ads for black Nissan Pathfinders. And my brain is opened up to the idea of black Nissan Pathfinders, right? There's a really high likelihood that if I leave my house and I go drive to pick my kids up from daycare, at some point during the drive, I'm going to see a black Nissan Pathfinder, right? And over the next week, I'm going to see them everywhere. I'm going to be like, oh my God, were there always this many black Nissan Pathfinders on the road? It seems like everybody wants what I want, right? The reality is there's the same number of black Nissan Pathfinders that have always been on the road. It's just the reticular activator in my brain has been turned on to look for black Nissan Pathfinders. When do and it's probably most of you guys, by the way, when do most agents ask for the referral? When the transaction's over. Can I tell you what their reticular activator is turned on to when the transaction's over? It's not who else in their office is looking to buy or sell a house. During the transaction, right, when they're working with you and they owe you their promise, they've got to find somebody. We've turned their reticular activator on. Now when they're sitting in their office and they're talking to their cube mate about, you know, God, we went out and looked at houses this weekend with Mike, and I think we found the perfect one. We're going over to his office tonight. We're going to write the offer, right? And then somebody couple things down says, oh, you guys are you're writing an offer on a house? Yeah, like Sherry and I are getting really close. Oh, you guys are going to listen. You got to work with Mike, right? Their reticular activator is turned on trying to find them somebody to work with Mike because they promised Mike they'd do that. When they're done, their reticular activator is turned on to the person across the office that's talking about, you know, remodeling their basement because that's what we're doing now. Or putting in new carpet because that's what we're doing now. Or buying a new couch because that's what we're doing now. Or painting the walls because that's what we're doing now. We're not buying a house now anymore. We're done with that. Our brain's moved on to the next thing. We just started doing this on the Ben Kinney teams. Look, Mike's been doing this for 30 years, right? They have a massive referral business, massive, right? People give them names and numbers. Like every day of the week in their business, they get a name and a number from some client or past client saying, hey, here you go. Here's somebody that you can call. Because of the way they deliver this. And listen, guys, go watch Mike, okay? I put the link. I'll put the link again for you guys here. Everybody just got that sent out to them. Again, at 22:40, we start talking about the promise. And at 29:50, 29 minutes and 50 seconds into that interview with Mike Hicks, he actually gives the script. He does it on Ben, and he's really good at it. Way better than I would be, but no better than any one of you guys could be once you start practicing it, right? Go watch Mike, then pause it, then practice it, then rewind Mike, and then practice it again, then grab your significant other and bring them in, make them listen to you do it, right? Then grab your kids as punishment and line them up on the couch and make them listen to you do it. Right? Because you're not going to go out and do this script this weekend with that client you've been working with without having practiced it, right? You're not going to do any of these scripts without having practiced them. You guys, go out, have an amazing rest of your week. Okay, have a great weekend in real estate. Sometime, hopefully soon, I hope you guys whip one of these scripts out, but I hope you don't just whip it out once, right? You're going to use this thing consistently in whatever arena you're planning to deploy it to. They work. We use them a lot. We get a lot of positive interactions out of these scripts. Good luck, you guys. My name's Bob Stewart. On behalf of Micah and Mikey, who make these things happen, Josiah, who's always supporting me to make sure we can pull them off. My name's Bob Stewart. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye, everybody.